$900 million. Let that number sink in for a second. Not from a Marvel movie, not from a DC blockbuster, not from Disney, Universal, or Warner Brothers. This number, $900 million globally, belongs to one film, from one studio that Hollywood insiders have been underestimating for decades. I'm talking about Michael, the film that didn't just succeed, it rewrote the rulebook for what an independent studio can achieve. Today, we are breaking down everything, the numbers, the history, the culture, the performances, and why this film is a seismic shift in the entertainment industry. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why Hollywood is shaking right now.
How are you, everyone? Welcome back to MJ Fan TV, your #1 destination for the latest Michael Jackson news, biopic updates, box office milestones, fan reactions, and everything about the King of Pop. If you love Michael Jackson and want daily updates on his music, legacy, and upcoming projects, you're in the right place. Before we start, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to MJ Fan TV, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any update. Now let's dive into today's Michael Jackson news.
Before we dive into the numbers, let's set the stage. Lionsgate Entertainment, founded back in 1997, has always been the scrappy underdog of Hollywood. While the big six studios had unlimited budgets and franchise armies, Lionsgate survived on smart bets. The Hunger Games, Twilight, John Wick, Saw. These weren't just movies. They were cultural phenomena born from calculated risk-taking. But even with all those wins, Lionsgate had never, not once in its nearly 3-decade history, cracked the $900 million mark globally with a single film. The closest they ever came was The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, which pulled in around $865 million back in 2013. That record stood for over a decade, untouched, like a mountain nobody could summit. Until Michael came along and didn't just climb that mountain, it exploded through it. Now, if you're wondering what this film is exactly, Michael is the long-anticipated biographical drama telling the life story of the greatest entertainer who ever lived, Michael Jackson. Directed by Antoine Fuqua and produced by Graham King, this is the project that fans have been waiting for years. And when it finally arrived in theaters, the world showed up in a way that shocked even the most optimistic analysts that let's talk cold hard cash, because the numbers here are genuinely staggering. Opening weekend? Massive. The film debuted with one of the biggest opening weekends in Lionsgate history, setting the tone immediately that this was no ordinary biopic. Critics and audiences alike were not just watching a movie, they were experiencing a cultural event. Domestically, the film performed exceptionally well in North America, pulling consistent audience footfall week after week. What's remarkable is the legs this movie had. Most big blockbusters front-load their earnings. They make 60 to 70% of their total gross in the first 2 weekends and then fade fast. Michael was different. It held on week after week because word of mouth was electrifying. People were telling their friends. Parents were bringing their kids. Longtime Michael Jackson fans were going back for their second and third screenings. But the real story is international. And this is where $900 million becomes not just impressive, it becomes historic. Markets like South Korea, Japan, the United Kingdom, Brazil, India, and Germany went absolutely wild for this film. In South Korea alone, the film set records for a Western biographical drama. In the UK, opening weekend numbers rivaled some of the biggest Marvel films of recent years. In Brazil and across Latin America, Michael Jackson's legacy runs so deep that the film performed like a superhero blockbuster. The breakdown? Roughly 55 to 60% of the total gross came from international markets, a testament to how truly global Michael Jackson's legacy remains, even decades after his passing. This isn't just American nostalgia. This is worldwide, cross-generational, cross-cultural love for one human being's art. $900 million from Lionsgate, Let's never forget how extraordinary that is for context, and context matters here. Let me give you a quick comparison. In the broader box office landscape, films hitting $900 million globally are rare. We're talking about the upper tier of cinema. Most years, only 3 or 4 films in total achieve this worldwide. The fact that a biographical drama, not a superhero epic, not a CGI-heavy fantasy franchise, crossed this threshold tells you everything about the cultural power of Michael Jackson's name. Lionsgate stock surged. Their streaming platform, subscriber signups reportedly spiked. Their credibility in Hollywood as a studio that can deliver event-level cinema cemented permanently. Why did Michael hit this hard? Because great movies don't just happen, they're built. And this one was built extremely well. Let's break down exactly why this film resonated so deeply. 1. The casting decision that changed everything. The biggest gamble Fuqua and King made was casting Jafar Jackson, Michael Jackson's nephew, in the lead role. When this was announced, the internet split right down the middle. Half the people said it was perfect bloodline, physicality, and intimate understanding of the man. The other half were skeptical. A relatively unknown actor carrying a $150+ million biopic on his shoulders? That's a massive ask. But Jafar delivered. He didn't just mimic Michael Jackson, he inhabited him. The performances, the moonwalk, the vocal mannerisms, the vulnerability, the eccentric genius. Jafar captured dimensions of Michael Jackson that felt authentic and deeply human. Critics across the board, even those who approached the film skeptically, acknowledged that his performance was the emotional engine that made everything work. 2. Antoine Fuqua's vision. Fuqua is known for gritty, intense filmmaking, Training Day, The Equalizer, Emancipation. He brought that same unflinching eye to Michael. He didn't make a sanitized, PR-approved hagiography. He made a complex, layered portrait of a complicated human being who happened to also be the greatest performer on earth. The film didn't shy away from the controversies, the pain, the loneliness, the brilliance, and audiences respected that honesty. 3. The music. Oh, the music. Let's be real. Half the reason people showed up is because they wanted to feel something. And when Michael Jackson's music hits in a packed cinema, it hits differently. The concert sequences in this film are cinematic spectacles. The sound design, the staging, the sheer kinetic energy, it turns the cinema into an arena. Audiences were reportedly dancing, crying, and cheering in their seats. That emotional release, that's what creates repeat viewings. That's what creates $900 million. 4. Perfect marketing and timing. The marketing campaign for this film was meticulous. Every trailer drop was an event. Every piece of footage released online generated millions of views and countless reaction videos. The social media conversation around this film built for months. By the time the release date arrived, the anticipation was at a fever pitch. And the release timing? Strategic perfection. Positioned in a window without major superhero competition, Michael had breathing room to own the conversation entirely. No franchise fatigue competition. No superhero sequel stealing the oxygen. Just Michael and the world's undivided attention. Here's the thing that the raw box office numbers don't fully capture: the cultural wave this film created. Streaming numbers for Michael Jackson's music catalog exploded the moment trailers started dropping. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music. Every platform reported massive surges in streams for his classic albums. Thriller, Off the Wall, Bad, Dangerous, History, all climbing charts simultaneously. A man who passed away in 2009 was suddenly the most talked about artist on the planet again. On social media, the film dominated for weeks. TikTok was flooded with users recreating the dance sequences, reacting to the trailer moments, sharing memories of how Michael Jackson's music shaped their lives. The hashtags reached billions of impressions. This wasn't manufactured viral marketing. It was organic, passionate, global love. In schools, Kids who had never heard of Michael Jackson were going home and asking their parents to play his music. Entire new generations were being introduced to his catalog through the film. The estate of Michael Jackson, collaborating with the production, helped ensure the music was presented authentically, and that authenticity resonated with old fans while captivating new ones. There's also a deeper conversation the film opened up about genius and complexity, about fame and its costs, about the way society treats its most extraordinary artists. Michael Jackson's life was not simple. It was not clean. And the film's willingness to sit in that complexity sparked genuine, thoughtful conversation across social media, podcasts, and mainstream media. People weren't just talking about whether the movie was good. They were talking about what it means to be human, what it means to be extraordinary, what it means to suffer for art. That's rare. That's the mark of cinema that truly matters. And let's talk about the merchandise and ancillary revenue, because this is how a $900 million box office translates into an even larger cultural and economic event. Soundtracks, vinyl releases, limited edition merchandise, concert tour announcements celebrating the film. The ecosystem around Michael exploded in ways that will continue generating revenue and cultural conversation for years to come. Lionsgate didn't just release a film. They launched a franchise of cultural energy. And that, more than any single number, is the true measure of this film's success. Let's zoom out and ask the big question. What does Michael's $900 million mean for the film industry at large? First and foremost, it proves that biopics can be event cinema. For years, the conventional wisdom in Hollywood was that biographical dramas were award-season players, not global blockbusters. They were films you watched on a quiet Tuesday on a streaming platform, not films you lined up around the block to see opening weekend. Michael has permanently shattered that assumption. A biopic can own the global box office if the subject is compelling enough, the execution is strong enough, and the emotional stakes are high enough. Second, it proves that Lionsgate is back, and it is a major player. After years of questions about the studio's future, its independence, its ability to compete with the streaming giants, Michael answers those questions with deafening clarity. $900 million says, we are here, we are relevant, and we can make history. Third, and perhaps most importantly, it signals to every studio in town that music biopics are the new frontier. Expect a wave of biographical films about iconic musical artists to be greenlit in the wake of Michael's success. If your studio has the rights to an iconic musician's story, you are now accelerating that project. The market has spoken. And fourth, it reminds Hollywood that audiences will show up for powerful stories told with craft and genuine emotion. In an era of franchise fatigue, of superhero sequels that feel mechanical and hollow, audiences are hungry for something real, something that makes them feel. Michael gave them that. And the industry needs to take note. So there you have it. $900 million. Lionsgate History. A biopic that became a global phenomenon. A performance that will be remembered for decades. A cultural wave that reminded the entire world why Michael Jackson was, and forever will be, the king of pop. This isn't just a box office story. This is a story about legacy. It's a story about what happens when great art meets genuine love from a global audience. It's a story about how one human being's talent, pain, brilliance, and sacrifice can echo across generations and be rediscovered, re-experienced, and re-loved by millions of people who weren't even born when he was performing at his peak. Michael Jackson changed music. He changed performance. He changed what it means to be an entertainer. And now, in 2024, his story has changed the record books for an entire studio. That is not a coincidence. That is the power of legacy. If you found this breakdown valuable, and I hope you did, please smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who love cinema, music, and the stories behind the numbers. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we cover the biggest moments in film and pop culture every single week. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments below. Did you see Michael? What was your reaction? Do you think it deserved the $900 million? And who do you think should have won the Oscar for Jaffar's performance? Let's get that conversation going. Until next time, I'm your channel name, and this has been your deep dive into the biggest box office story of the year. Take care, stay cinematic, and I'll see you in the next one.